Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Quarter Talk podcast with myself, Jack Brazil, and my co-host, as always, Josh Mazoki. Say what's up, Josh?
Yo, what's up? You found his keyboard. Let's go.
Found the keyboard back in Southampton now with a keyboard. We've actually two keyboards now. I've now got a backup keyboard, so that I will never run into that problem again. Feels like a long time since I've had the pleasure to do that intro, but here we are back in Zoom. Hopefully we can move this to in person one day, but who knows? Who really knows? But yeah, let's get straight into today's episode of the Four Quarter Talk podcast. Feels good to be back. I just want to say a quick thank you to Matas for filling in for me last week. Did a great job, Matas. But I'm back in town, so I believe we're going to start with a subject very close to my heart as well.
Yeah. We're gonna make up for your annoying voices on the last one, so we're like, let's get them back into it with just a full.
Yeah.
Go, yeah. The floor is yours, bro. Take over.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about my Chicago Bulls. I'm now shamefully saying
you're still claiming them.
Yeah. Not proudly anymore as I once was, but I've kind of dug my grave, so I've got a lie in it now. Claimed to be a Bulls fan all these years, so here I am. Between the Chicago Bulls and Arsenal, my life is constant hell. But yeah, the Chicago Bulls, as we all know, acquired Nikola Vucevic at the trade deadline, which looked like kind of the turnaround of the Chicago Bulls' fortunes in a lot of ways. That's how it was touted anyway. You got an all-star caliber center who has made it the past 2 years, averaging 24 and 11. And you're getting rid of Wendell Carter Jr., who's by no means a bad player, but that's seen as a massive upgrade on paper, at least. And since that day, the one word I would use to describe the Chicago Bulls is disappointing. A lot of people saw this move as a kind of make or break for the Bulls to have to make the playoffs this year. I think I even saw that like that at first, but rejudging the situation, I don't think it's quite that severe, as we do have Vucevic for another 2 seasons at least. So, and Zach LaVine's on the contract. So we've got our core 2 players for a couple.
Yeah, it doesn't help that you gave up your pick for this year, though, does it?
Doesn't help. Apparently, it's got a protection on it, though. So if we're really, really bad and we get some luck, hopefully that pick is still ours, but I doubt it. And yeah, we've given it up for next year as well. So, this was clearly a move to stepping into a winning direction, right? And we haven't done that since Vucevic has been on the team. And this might sound unfair, but I'm going to put a lot of this blame on the front office for not trading Lauri Markkanen. I saw straight away that Lauri Markkanen and Nikola Vucevic, 2 of the league's worst defending big men in a pick and roll, could not coexist together. And I've been proven right. Obviously, they don't play many minutes on the floor together, but it's just, you're having 2 guys in every rotational lineup that cannot defend a pick and roll. Vucevic takes a drop approach, so he'll give the roller space, and that usually results in 2 points to the other team. And then Lauri Markkanen, if he's not shooting the ball well, he doesn't contribute anything to this team. And that's sad for me to say, because I can honestly say when he was drafted and in his first 2 seasons, I could say Lauri Markkanen was my favorite Bull. Because, I saw the guidelines and the blueprint for the modern day big man, a 7-footer who can shoot lights out when he wants to. And, when Lauri Markkanen was a rookie, I could give him some slack for not having these extra facets to his game, like the defense, like being aggressive inside, taking advantage of his height. But now that we're in, I think, season 4 for Lauri Markkanen, and I still haven't seen that improvement, I'm ready to cut ties. As I said, you can't have a guy who doesn't contribute anything but shooting. And he doesn't even do that well some nights. So I do think someone needs to drill into his head that he is 7 foot, because he doesn't play like it. And a change of scenery, I think, will be best for him as well, and also for the Chicago Bulls, because, as I said, Vucevic and Lauri Markkanen coexisting just hasn't worked so far. Another player I wanted to point to, a guy I've hyped up a lot on this podcast, in Kobe White. just gave me a little smile there. He's having a little chuckle to himself. Look, Kobe White. I'm gonna be critical of Kobe White here. As I said, one of my favorite players on the Bulls, and still is. He's had a disappointing season, no doubt, but he's still one of my favorite players on the team. And I can say that I can give him time because he's a second year point guard, 21 years of age. It's it's always said that a point guard takes a lot of adaptation to be a good point guard in this league. I think we're seeing that with Kobe White, but this is the problem. I don't think Kobe White even is a point guard. I think he's more of a. I think he more wants to be like the primary scorer on a team, and I do think he can develop into that. Maybe not on a good team, but I could see him playing for the Pistons, putting up 20. But it's kind of a conflict of interest with him. I feel like Billy Donovan came into Chicago and really tried to focus on developing Kobe White's playmaking game, which he's taken steps in the direction of a decent playmaker, but he's still not the full package. I think he's fighting that inner urge to be the player he's always been, the player that got him into the NBA, which is a guy who can create his own shot, can get hot quite quickly, but off the ball, he's poor. Wants to play a very similar role to Zach LaVine, so their fit is a big issue. I try to give it some time, that fit, but it clearly doesn't work, especially on the defensive end as well. You got two guys that don't play a lick of defense. All offense, no defense. So that's why I think a move for Lonzo Ball would be perfect for this Bulls team. I would almost transform them overnight. You got someone who does play defense as someone who can play make. Which is two qualities Kobe White is lacking in. But I would still like to keep Kobe White on the roster. He's had a lot of challenges facing him this year, in and out of the lineup, not knowing his role, a new head coach, second year in the NBA, as I said, still a very young player. So I'd like to give him some time. I'm not one of these Bull fans that is going to write him off completely. But I do get the frustration. This is a franchise that hasn't made the playoffs since about, I think, 2015, 2016. So, it's a long while for a team that's so used to being successful to be out of the playoffs. And we're just trying to get back there, man. I think I've got some ideas for who we can target in free agency. As I said, Lonzo Ball, great defender, lights out 3-point shooter this year, and can play make. That's his main strength, always has been, probably always will be. So someone like him who kind of fills in for the gaps in Zach LaVine's game. I feel like those two complement each other quite nicely and could be a very dangerous backcourt. Another one I'm going to point to is Richaun Holmes of the Sacramento Kings, having a career year this season. Very efficient, 60% from the field, 14 points per game. Very good rebounder as well, blocks a few shots. On a poor defensive Sacramento Kings team, he's probably the standout defender. I think having him in the big man rotation would help the Chicago Bulls a lot. A big man rotation of Nikola Vucevic, Daniel Tice, and Richaun Holmes those two would make up, I think, for a lot of Nikola Vucevic's shortcomings on the defensive end. And you could even play maybe Richaun Holmes at the 4 with Vucevic on the floor. So that's another signing I'd like to see the Bulls look at. I'm not sure if he would want to come to Chicago and be a backup center. Seeing the season he's had, he's going to have a lot of suitors, I would imagine. So it's probably unrealistic, but we'll see what happens there. Another one is Josh Richardson from the Dallas Mavericks. He's another two-way player. Another person we could, I don't think he'd start for us with Zach LaVine, but would play very good backup minutes. I don't know what that would mean for Kobe White, but any time I see an opportunity for us to be able to get defense at the guard spot at a good price, I'm going to take it. So Josh Richardson is that guy. And on any given night, he can give you 20 as well. He's kind of like a very B-Tech Drew Holiday in a sense. Obviously not on the same level, but, we don't need someone. We're not going to be able to attract someone of Drew Holiday's level for a fair price and for a price that suits us. So Josh Richardson would be a good idea. Although I think he may have a player option. And why would he want to come to Chicago when he can play with Luka and, be actually on a good team? But yeah, that's all my thoughts on the Chicago Bulls. I think Billy Donovan is under a bit of pressure right now.
Street y'all.
Yeah. He tricked us with you guys, which is the worst thing.
Chris
Yeah.
Paul. Chris Paul, how do you think he was? Well, a combination of Chris Paul and Jim Boylan. How do you think he was some sort of Hall of Fame?
Well, you can't blame me for being optimistic when Jim Boylan was our coach, but it does
still an upgrade.
It does go to show you that personnel is ultimately going to be the most important thing in this league, and we didn't change the personnel going into this season. Would I give him another season?
No, I think you have to.
Yeah, I think we do have to. I think the Chicago Bulls strike me as a franchise that don't like instability. They like having their guy, which is why they put up with Boylan for so long. So they like having someone set in their place. Give Boylan, not Boylan, sorry. See, look, I'm even getting them mixed up. That's how simple.
But you can't hire Billy Donovan and then not give him the pieces that made him successful in the first place. You know what I mean?
But you could also see how like your team, obviously you had Chris Paul, which we don't have anyone on the level of Chris Paul, but you can see the parallels between your team last season that made the playoffs and our team as well. You know, young team without any playoff experience, with a few veterans who do have that playoff experience like Fadi.
But it's about that style of play though. You don't really have your guards don't complement each other in the same way as ours did.
No.
So it doesn't fit the same way.
But that's something for Billy Donovan to hopefully figure out, and maybe for the front office as well. Can they make moves to improve this team?
Yeah, because if you get Alonzo Ball, that could definitely fit the type of system he had.
Sure.
As running.
Yeah, Ball. He would take the Chris Paul role. I would imagine. Obviously not in the leadership wise, but more play style. So give Billy Donovan another season. It looks like we're out of the play-in tournament race with the Wizards just decide to go on like an 11-1 streak when we need them to lose, which is unfortunate. But they're playing great basketball. The Wizards.
We'll talk about them in a bit. It's almost like I predicted this, but
it's just anyway. I swear I predicted this.
Huh?
In our hot takes.
It's on my hot takes thing though as well.
I think we both had the same hot take.
Yeah, we had to.
We gave it.
We predicted it. But I said I trust. You know, Russell Westbrook.
I mean, when you've got the NBA's top scorer and the NBA's top assister, you're probably going to be in a decent position. But let's move away from the Chicago Bulls.
Well, actually, we are on that same vein. So we're moving on to just a little section here. We're calling MVP sleepers. Now, at this point, Jokic is a lot. Like, Jokic is like he won't win it unanimously, but everyone knows that he is the MVP. He is the MVP. He has the stats to back it.
Yeah,
they've lost Jamal Murray, haven't missed a beat.
He's played every game.
Yeah, he's played every single game. So, I mean, even if he hadn't played every game, it'd still be a debate. So the fact that he's played every game, whilst players like Joel Embiid have missed time.
Look, Jokic started the season well, which he usually doesn't do. Played well through teammates getting injured with Jamal Murray. Played well when Aaron Gordon came to the team. He's just been like the epitome of consistency, and that's what you need from an MVP, I think.
Yeah, but with that being said, we are just going to give some love to a couple outsider picks. Now, we're not going to talk about second place, third place and stuff like that. We're just going to talk about players that likely
were having MVP caliber seasons.
Yeah, but won't finish in that,
in any other given season, they would be up there, right up there. Do you want to go first, Josh?
Yeah, so we'll start with Russell Westbrook, as we were just talking about with the Wizards. Behind his play, he's kind of kept them afloat and put them in this position where it seemed like a lost season, and now they're in a position where they're looking like the best team going into that play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference, with potential, as me and Matas talked about last week, to face KD and the Nets, which would be a tremendous first round series. But Westbrook's been playing at a high level. He's back in his triple double ways as usual. He's got 30 for the season, which through 55 games, which would put him on pace to beat his 2017 record with 44 if it was an 82 game season. And he's still on pace for about 39 for this season. 6 away from the all-time record, the most in a calendar month. Like he's just doing crazy things. And with this latest surge, he's upped his efficiency by quite a bit. He's shooting around for the year, he's shooting around 45%. But for the season as a whole, he's shooting about 44% from the field. Averaging 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. And as you said, leading the league in assists. And it goes past the stats because obviously Westbrook is bringing the stats to the table. But with a team like the Wizards, who've been hit hard with injuries, with COVID and things like that, he's been the constant. Since he recovered from his injury, he's brought leadership to the point where, there's always been questions about his leadership, about him as a teammate, despite what other teammates have, had nothing but praise for him. But it's been no doubt that he's had a big part in a lot of these players, the Rui Hachimuras that have said, he's the one that's been picking me up, that's been challenging me. Bradley Beal, who's now leading the league in scoring, has said that Russell Westbrook has like elevated me and pushed me to be the best I can be. And it's been great. It's been great for the team. He might be higher up in MVP discussion had they not had these issues, and had he be able to have these stats whilst the Wizards weren't sitting at 10th. But it's definitely been individually, it's been MVP caliber.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about Russell Westbrook is that he could have quite easily gone into Washington and saw this terrible start they got off to and let his head drop and kind of done a bit of a James Harden, wanted to be moved on straight away, not giving his all to the team. But as you pointed to, young players like Rui Hachimura saying he's pushing them to be better players. And it seems like he wants to win wherever he goes. He seems like he's the player of the mentality that he's going to give 100% every night. And you can see it. Like, I don't know how this guy plays any back-to-backs or, because he exerts 100% of his energy every time. A big improvement that I've seen from his early days on the Wizards, which is, you kind of see this pattern every season with Westbrook, is that he kind of matures into his own game more, taking less 3-pointers, attacking the rim much more, probably the best finisher at the rim from the guard spot, probably in the league, I would say. So he's taking more of those.
It's a lot to do with that injury thing, though, because as someone that plays, like when I'm like struggling injury wise, I definitely start to settle a lot more with shooting threes rather than putting that pressure on those.
Yeah, because you don't know how your body do.
Yeah, to go to the rim. But now you can just see the difference in his confidence. You can see him. He's had a poster dunk in the last, over Biombo, who seems like a poster magnet these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just see the difference in confidence. But through all of that, he still gave his effort. He still gave his everything. Didn't make excuses. You'll never hear from him that he was injured. It will be from other people because he didn't want to make those excuses. And he's been great, especially since January.
Yeah, and there's no coincidence that his upturn in form has resulted in an upturn in form for the Washington Wizards. As we said, I think at the start of the season when I said Curry is one of those players who I didn't think could carry a team with his play. I mentioned Westbrook as a player that can, and when you got a player who's averaging a triple double every night, you don't need Alex Len, who's not a good rebounder, to exert himself on the glass. Westbrook's going to be there. You don't need Bradley Beal to shoulder a lot of the playmaking load because that's Westbrook is going to take a large percentage of that. So I think he allows players to be the best versions of themselves and focus on their game because when you have a quality team, you want the players to kind of only do what they're great at. I heard JJ Redick talk about this on his podcast. He said,
so
when he was on the LA Clippers, Jamal Crawford was expected to come off the bench and score. DeAndre Jordan was expected to block shots and grab rebounds. Blake Griffin was expected to punish the defense inside, and he was expected to shoot the ball really well. So that's what he's allowing players on the Wizards to do.
Yeah, and speaking of making players better, look at Daniel Gafford, who was on the Bulls before.
I think they're like 11-2 since they picked him up.
Yeah, they're 11-2 of him. They're 11-5 this month, and he's looking great because one thing Westbrook will do is he will make a big man. He'll bring out the best in a big man. Like Steven Adams. His chemistry with Gafford, with Alex Len has just been tremendous. When I'm watching games, the timing, he's putting these players in great positions, and I don't understand. Like back in his MVP season, ever since he started averaging a triple double, I'd see this stat padding thing, and I'd be like, look, he's pushing and he's getting these balls and he's doing these things, but if you actually watch a game that he plays, like, I don't see how you can come to the conclusion that he's stat padding, because some of these passes that he's making, you know, the way that he feeds these players, it is fluent. It's throughout the game, and you know, yeah, he's putting these players in great positions. But yeah, hopefully he can carry on, finish this out, and make the Wizards a dangerous team going to the playoffs.
Will Gafford one day get a Steven Adams type bag just of just
I
of
don't think
Westbrook's-
centers. I think we're past the point of centers getting big bags, unless you're a generational talent, you know, a Jokic, a Cat, you know, a Bam coming up.
rim running centers aren't really.
Yeah, the depth in the league. Like you mentioned, Rashawn Holmes earlier. You know, the Rashawn Holmes, the Nolan's Noels. You're getting so much depth of the center position has made a resurgence, because you have the high talented ones, but you also have a lot of players that you can plug in and just add that value, you know, like, you know, Rashawn Holmes, and they're not going to demand, you know, 20 million a year. So, yeah. Westbrook's just been pushing this team, you know, through a time where, you know, Beal was out with protocol and different things, and he's been able to manage the ship and keep them afloat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I want to talk about, as an MVP candidate, well, an outside MVP candidate, someone I think will get a few 4th, 5th place votes on the ballot. Guy who's having a career year in year number 7. Julius Randle from the New York Knicks, 24, 10 and 6 on the season. And over the past month, that must, I don't have the stats here, but that must be close to 30, and, you know, shooting the lights out from 3. Over the last 10, shooting 46.7% from the 3-point line. The way he's made a leap in that category, you know, on quite a few attempts as well. He is shooting 42% from 3 on the season, which puts him in the upper echelon of 3-point shooters in this league. From a guy who couldn't, you know, in his early days, never even attempted the 3 ball. I mean, we put up that graphic before in an earlier episode. I might pop it up again. The evolution of Julius Randle's shot chart. He's revolutionized his game in such a way that he can be, you know, he's got the qualities of a modern day big man and a traditional big man.
By the way, I found the stats. He's 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists for this month.
Yeah,
and for the season, you know, 24, 10 and 6. So
yeah, and when we spoke kind of mid-season about our most improved players, you had Julius Randle, and I think me and Matas had Jeremy Grant. But now my opinion is completely differed with Julius Randle. You know, it's further than just the stats, even though those have seen a massive uptick. But, you know, his game has just kind of gotten better in every single way. He's a really good playmaker. One of the better playmakers on the Knicks. Probably their best playmaker, I would say.
And it was something they were made fun of, even by me. You know, last season, you know, you'd have point Randle memes. Because he would just be taking it up left-handed all the way, you know, turning the ball over and things like that. And it's something that he's really taken the time to push and to work on. He's been tremendous this season.
And, you know, exerting himself on the offensive end, he hasn't forgotten about his defensive responsibilities either. You know, steering the Knicks to the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I watched his he was on Woj's podcast. He had a special, and he was just talking about his development over this last season and the differences. You know, he put in a lot of work, obviously. He was really fueled by the Knicks, you know, the Knicks season that they had last year, and especially, well, right from his signing, you know, the disappointment that was met with his signing, you know, because you had the Knicks who were, you know, they were big fish hunting, you know, trying to get Zion, KD, and Kyrie one season, and you know they ended up with him, and he was fueled by that, and then obviously they had a tough first season, but he said that he really wanted a type of coach that would push him, a coach that was right there with him, wanting to work hard and wanting to hold them accountable, He started, he'd go to high schools of different places, on the road to train like in the early hours of the morning, and how that culture is just pushed through with like being paired with a coach like Tibbs, who pushes them, and then other teammates following suit, and now you're having players like RJ Barrett who is stepping up, who I mean, he's very underrated this season. He's been a great player. He's definitely lived up to his draft status.
A player who's kind of written off in his first season as well, by a lot of Knicks fans and NBA fans, but he's proven the doubt was wrong. And it just goes to show you like what impact a good coach can make on a team. Tibbs came in from day one and was like, he implemented this culture and they all responded really well. And I've got no doubt in my mind that, Julius Randle, that's a massive part of the reason Julius Randle is the player he is today. It's because of Tom Thibodeau.
But make no mistake, I'm seeing people saying, assistant player, seeing people say, he's a result of Tibbs, and I disagree with that. I think the culture that Tibbs brings is, he's brought out the best in him.
Yeah.
But the changes that he's made, a coach could not do anything.
Yeah. A lot of it is down to the work he's put in.
Yeah, his shooting, he's just completely like changed his game, like, from top to bottom, and his shooting, his playmaking, handling the ball, just so many different things I'm seeing him do, and I'm like, this is not the same player I remember. Like, he's just a pure perimeter player,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a pure perimeter player. He said he took a lot from, training with Kobe. Kobe's a big influence on him, and he just looks special. And to be this far into his career, age 26 now, and to make that much of an improvement, it's just mad. And situations have a lot to do with, there's probably a lot of players out there who have been in difficult situations where the best of them have been able to come out like that. And it took him to, he bet on himself. He probably could have had opportunities in other places that that provided more of an opportunity to win. Signing with the Knicks, as bad as they were, they were coming off a season where they were looking for Zion, so they were that bad. I think they had like a 29 game losing streak, something crazy like that. The season leading up to it, and him choosing them, him trusting them with his future because he bet on himself and saw that he saw himself as special and said, as late into his career as it is, I am that player, and he's had these goals in his mind, MVP, just winning on his terms. So, and because of his play, he's now getting that recognition, not just as a most improved player candidate, but as an MVP candidate, and he finds himself in the NBA's latest top 10 rankings of MVP.
Deservedly so, man. Deservedly so. The jump he's made has been remarkable to watch. Josh, do you want to go to your next outside MVP candidate?
Yeah, so my next sleeper, I've got Chris Paul, who, he's done it again. He's taken another team that was overlooked, even going into that undefeated run that they had in the bubble last season. Despite that run that they had, they still finished the season, 34 and 39. And this season now, they're obviously they're second in the West, sitting out 44 and 18. They've been great. They've been great against great teams as well. Chris Paul has stepped up in so many big moments. The Clippers were right on their heels at third, and the winner of that game that they just had would have clinched the playoffs. And Chris Paul had a tremendous game. He scored 28 points, 10 assists, and he just had a clutch game. Paul George was guarding him, couldn't do anything with him, and that's just been who Chris Paul's been. The stats don't stand out as much. Obviously, he's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, which is still good, but obviously it's not MVP level stats. But his impact just can't be measured. You see. He's brought to a franchise that have suffered. They haven't clinched playoff berth since 2020. And that's the second longest draft.
2010, you mean?
Oh, 2010, sorry. And now that was the longest draft, second longest drought in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he just brings winning culture wherever he goes.
Yeah, and fourth quarter, Chris Paul is no joke, man. that guy, he like takes it to a whole nother level when it hits.
Yeah, I just gained so much respect from last season.
I mean,
afterwards.
that three in Madison Square Garden to end the New York Knicks like longest win streak in forever.
Yeah.
That's one of the coldest moments of the season for me. It was
cold.
such a difficult shot as well, and the way it just swishes in.
And the one he hit right after that as well.
Yeah, and he just turns around to the camera.
He's too cold.
Talks his shit. Like, if there's any player in this league that can talk this shit, it's
the most petty player in the league as well. And you just love it, man. I used to hate it, but I love it now.
Yeah. The only thing missing from his resume is that championship, man. I don't think the Suns will go that far, but they're surprising a lot of people. And like,
look, when Chris Paul keeps putting this type of performance up and showing that, I have a big contract, but I'm worth it in the fact that I'm bringing this value, even though I'm old.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an older player in the league, and look, like, don't look now, but I think next year will be the last year of his contract. So, and it's a player option, so you never know. Like, you can get a buyout, or you can even get, a situation where a team can like kind of restructure things. And so he could find himself on a contender. So right now in these years, with the Thunder, with the Suns now, he's showing his value, and he's showing that he can win. He can add to a team. And I mean, you never know what situation the Bucks might be in terms of as a contender if they had taken that chance on him.
Yeah, there's not many players I want to see win a ring more than Chris Paul, man. Like, because he's a player, a ring will, like, I don't think as much, like, obviously championships are very important, but they shouldn't be the be all and end all, I don't think, of a player's legacy. But if that is going to be the case, and that's how NBA fans and NBA analysts are going to judge a player's legacy is on titles, there's not many more players I want to see. And a player that would complete his career more than Chris Paul. I feel like it's Thanos with that, getting that last Infinity Stone out of Vision's head. That's the ring for Chris Paul. And yeah, even if it comes from riding the end of a bench when he's like 48, I don't care.
I mean, those two players we were just talking about with him and Westbrook, those are two players that got disrespected, got written off as washed or whatever. Kind of after playing with Harden, but I wouldn't put the Westbrook one on Harden because he was just injured. But players that are, they're showing their worth still right now, and that are, top 10 point guards of all time. And I think there's a few players that I'd put Chris Paul above that kind of get. Anyway, we'll probably talk about that as a summer topic. But some of these
summer's gonna be rough, boy. If we're we're gonna be deep in the creative bag for the summer.
Yeah.
So if you hear some topics you're a bit like, what the fuck are they talking about? Just stick with us, all right? But
hey,
yeah,
we started in the summer, so we've been
exactly. We know that's how we were born through fucking talking about whose legacy's better, Magic Johnson or like we love a hypothetical in the summer.
The Devin Booker Clay debate.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, I feel like.
Why were we even debating about those two? Like, they're such different players.
It was an overall thing I was writing about.
Was it like who you'd rather have on your team type shit?
Yeah, it was a recency bias debate type thing.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing a lot of different things. There was some crazy stuff. Shout out to Manis. He was saying Jamal Murray is top 3-point guard.
Oh yeah.
After his bubble run.
We need to get Manis on a episode one.
Yeah. Stephen,
we mention him a lot. Yeah. We need to start getting some more people on the podcast. But yeah, Chris Paul, and you can just see Chris Paul's impact. Like, obviously, there's been a lot of other factors going into this, but like, look at his last two teams, where the Rockets and the Thunder are now. Like the two worst teams in the league, and I can assure you a big part of that is due to the absence of Chris Paul. Obviously, there's a lot of other things. But...
like Shea, like the leap that Shea's made, since being impacted by Chris Paul has been crazy, because Shea had a big moment for the Clippers in the playoffs. I think he had 30 in the playoffs against the Warriors in that win. But a lot of the things he's doing right now, obviously, hard work himself, but the confidence, the decision making that he has, a lot of that is down to Chris Paul, and he's credited Chris Paul. in that, and
Yeah.
he's been a big part. So, you know, I'm so grateful for like Chris Paul, like what he brought to our franchise will be something that a lot of our young players will take with them. Like a Lou Dort, who, you know, lacked confidence at times. You know, it's hard to have that confidence when you have players leaving you open in your first playoff series, but then he kept pushing them, and then he had that game 7, and he hasn't looked back since. So Chris Paul just has that effect on your players. He brings that edge to your team, that grit as a, you know, barely 6 foot point guard who has been, you know, a staple of this league for decades.
Yeah, and the MVP conversation is no unfamiliar place for Chris Paul. I think he's been in the top 10 like 8 times in his career or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Never actually won the award, unfortunately, but
I think there was one where he deserved it.
Yeah,
like 2008 or something.
But he's no stranger to this
yeah.
to this caliber of performance, and to be doing it at his age. Is he 36 now?
Yeah. Point guard.
Yeah, to be doing it at that age is crazy. Like we knew the Phoenix Suns were going to be I think we did know the Phoenix Suns were going to be a decent team going into the season before they had a Chris Paul. You know, that 8-0 bubble run was really impressive. But it just shows you how much of a ceiling raiser Chris Paul actually is. You know, never in our wildest dreams would anyone have ever predicted the Suns to be the second seed in the West.
No way.
Like, yeah, even the biggest Suns fan out there wouldn't have predicted that. And Chris Paul has led them there. And another shout I want to give to Devin Booker, as you know, I feel like he has a similar case to Chris Paul in this award. Although I feel like Chris Paul obviously has the edge over that. You can point to him as the ceiling raiser and him as the one who's made this team better. Whereas Devin Booker has obviously been on the Phoenix Suns for his whole career. But Devin Booker's play hasn't dropped off at all with Chris Paul on the team. If anything, it's got better.
Yeah. I need to get away from these stupid like arguments about this player is not a winning player, empty stats, blah blah blah. Like these players are talented players that get drafted to bad situations. Because like they're in that position because they're so great that they are that high of a pick.
Yeah. Look, making the NBA is a big achievement in itself. But then going on to, you know, be the youngest ever player to score 70 points in a game and averaging 20 points your whole career, is another milestone you can add on to that. That you just know that player is a good player, and that surrounded by the right pieces, as the Suns have now done with Booker, can result in.
He was supposed to be our James Harden replacement, but we got Cameron Payne though, who's on the Suns as well now,
and he's been okay for them.
He's been great for them.
Yeah, like Cameron Payne is like if
he's an NBA player.
Chris Paul is giving Cameron Payne an NBA level career, which is, you know, an achievement in itself.
Not fair. He was born in the bubble. So.
He wasn't balling for the Bulls though. Jesus, that was rough.
I mean, that's a standard to Bulls though.
No, but like a player that you thought was destined for China, is now you know, comfortably on an NBA roster. That's you know.
I mean, if you put together these Bulls, the Bulls have had a lot of China prospects in the last.
We like the Chinese scouting network.
No, OKC, we did have what's it called? Oh, we were down bad in the. I'll never forgive people for trying to say that Westbrook didn't deserve MVP when he was playing with Kyle Singler. I remember seeing a report about me. It was like it might have been Bleacher Report actually. It was like meet Kyle Singler, the worst player in the NBA. Oh damn.
I think Bleach Report should be coming out with another article. Meet Denzel Valentine, the worst player in the NBA.
Man, if you don't you don't deserve us in our Sade Cunningham, Ludo shade gaze if you weren't there for the Mitch McGarry days.
Nick Collison days.
No, Nick Collison, that's our guy, man.
He was more like a mascot to you guys, isn't it?
It's the Thunder, man.
Yeah. Yeah, let me not get onto Denzel Valentine. I might get put in.
I'm surprised he wasn't part of your run, man.
I'm gonna get cancelled. I'll get cancelled. Surprised
he wasn't part of your intro there.
Heat check. Oh no.
Maybe that was close plan.
Stacey King's reaction.
No.
Before the shot even.
Yeah, before the shot.
Before the shot.
How's he creasing?
Like, yeah, Denzel, you hit three threes before that, and you were part of the reason we were coming back in that game. But you're Denzel Valentine. Come
He was probably steaming when he saw Curry's shot like the next game.
on. What are you talking about the layup where you got fouled and like just threw it up?
Yeah, no, because he basically shot a similar shot to Denzel, but like
Yeah.
more off balance. He was like,
Did he
but
think?
nah,
Did he think
we might
like
have had an
being light
all-time
skin
episode.
just meant he was the same?
Yeah, we might have had an all-time episode if you were there like the the day after that.
Oh man. Oh man. I would have been punching holes in my walls and like yeah. But let's go away from very average, not even average, Chinese level NBA players to great NBA players,
Let's
and
go for one Chinese level MVP prospect.
CBA MVP, man.
To another NBA sleeper MVP
Yeah.
candidate.
And it's crazy to call this guy a sleeper, isn't it? Because he's reigning MVP, reigning defensive player of the year,
Back to
back MVP. But it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's putting up a humble 28 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Just humble, you know. No, just something light, you know. You know, to be fair, we never thought Giannis was ever gonna struggle in the regular season. I don't want to talk about the playoffs because we've spoken about the playoffs with Giannis a ton.
Yeah.
And that's no way.
Without bringing up
My Budenholzer.
Budenholzer.
Yeah, but Giannis is just like Giannis is doing what he has always done. Well, not always, but what he has done for the past 6 years. And that shoot efficiently at the rim. You know, he's even you know, kind of steadied out his free throw percentage as well, which was a big hole in his game. He's a great playmaker for this Milwaukee team, and he's just a dominant force inside. There's not much more you can say about that. You know, I feel like we've spoken about Giannis' skill set to death. You know, the whole NBA has, and obviously that next thing is adding that consistent 3-point shot. 30% on the season this year. I mean, making one a game, which is, you know, it's down from last year, but his career averages, you know, it's a trend in the right direction. But yeah, the Bucks have the record for Giannis to probably be the MVP, 38 and 24. Although they've seen a little drop off in the last few games, but Giannis has been, you know, kind of in and out of the lineup recently with injury and things like that. So there's no coincidence that he's that's come with a downturn in Milwaukee's form. But yeah, if Giannis has that 3-pointer, Josh, like, it's game over for the league. I mean, it already is game over for the league, especially in the regular season with Giannis, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing. So the MVP is a narrative-based award, and obviously, it's a regular season award, but his performance in the playoffs is definitely weighing heavily on the league and the voters of the league, and just in general, without his playoff performance, you know, it's a big feat to win, you know, an MVP 3 consecutive years. And the only players that have done it are Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, and Larry Bird. And
did Jordan not do it, no?
No, not three consecutive. Yeah, and so they were not going to give it to Giannis. No
way.
It was not going to happen. He would have to. Firstly, he's not getting it being a 3rd seed.
Yeah.
Not getting it with worse stats than the last 2 years. It's just such a hard feat, you know. Even LeBron didn't get it. And LeBron definitely had the case to get it.
Well, yeah, I think Giannis is slowly becoming a player like LeBron that he's going to put up MVP caliber stats for the rest of his career, but because of that fact, as you said, like the larger issues surrounding him in the playoffs,
the top 2 players of all time didn't get it.
Yeah,
so you're gonna have to have some crazy level.
It was a losing battle when he started, and you know you can kind of tell with how quietly Giannis has been posting 28, 11, and 6. You know, people don't talk about 28, 11, and 6 from Giannis because they're used to 30 and 14 or whatever he put up last season.
Yeah,
they're used to him winning, you know, Defensive Player of the Year alongside the MVP award. He set this precedent for himself in the regular season that 28 and 11 for himself, although those are MVP caliber numbers, and probably in 9 seasons out of 10, those would win MVP.
Yeah,
those stats. He's not going to win it off those.
He's not the NBA's shiny new toy anymore, you know.
Yeah.
He's not Luka, he's not Zion, he's not LaMelo. And it doesn't help that he kind of got exposed, or his play style got exposed in the playoffs. And one thing I would say about this season is that of the 3 years, the Bucks, whilst they're not as dominant in the regular season as they've been, they seem the most legit this year because of the formula that they have, the players they have, Drew Holiday's emergence. So they at least look like they have the best roster in terms of playoff made for this season. So
yeah.
And I'm sure that's what Giannis cares about the most anyway. So, and that's why he committed, basically.
Let's hope so.
That's what he's committed his prime to. So, the Drew Holiday experiment has worked great, and that's why they extended him so quickly. And yeah, so hopefully, this can be the start of Giannis having some postseason success, as long as the adjustments are made. But yeah, he's not winning MVP. He's having an MVP caliber season, but so many are. I mean, for a while there, it looked like there were probably 7 to 8 MVP candidates. This has been a weird season.
Yeah, for sure. Isn't it crazy that hold on. What draft was he in the 2013 draft or 2014 draft?
Yeah, 2013 draft.
Yeah, that's the same draft that Anthony Bennett was selected number 1.
Yeah, I remember because I had 2K14, man.
Look, some of the picks in that draft: Anthony Bennett first, Victor Oladipo second, Otto Porter Jr. third, Alex Len 5th, Ben McLemore 7, Trey Burke 9, all picked ahead of Giannis at 15. And I think that's just a testament to the player he's become. I was watching again JJ Redick's podcast. He was talking to Drew Holiday, who's obviously now his teammate, and he was saying Giannis is one of the players who's most obsessed with being great that he's ever come across. He's like a lot of the stories he was telling me reminded me a lot of Kobe and the work ethic he put in. And he's saying he's always shooting threes in the gym. He's always shooting his mid ranges in the gym. Really wants to add that to his game.
He's taking these threes that are airballing because he knows that, look, I can dominate in the regular season, but I have to push myself. I actually have to put this stuff to work because it's all good, Ben Simmons taking threes pregame, but Giannis is having the confidence to actually push himself to do this stuff that for now looks embarrassing, but he'll need it. He'll need it come playoff time, and it's bigger than threes. It's being a threat all over the court, from mid range, maybe even having a post game, and just different things that he's gonna have to do. Drew Holiday definitely compliments him.
Yeah, let's quickly talk about some other MVP candidates that we won't go into too much detail about, but some other people that are worth shouting out. I think a name that springs to mind for me is Luka Doncic, putting up MVP caliber stats in his 3rd season. I think he's 28 and 8, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just fact check that for you. But yeah, in his 3rd season, I think a lot of people had him as the favorite to win MVP this year with the they saw the trajectory his career is on and saw his 3rd season to be a great one, and it's been an historic season. 28.6 points, 7.9 rebounds per game, 8.7 assists, and he's led the Mavericks to a better record than was once projected for them. I mean, they started the season quite disappointingly. They've picked it up as of recent. So that's why I think his MVP case has strengthened over the past month or so, and he's had a really good month.
He was hurt by the expectations. Pretty much everyone had him as their preseason
favorite,
pick. Yeah, as their favorite, and he had a rough start there at the start, and so it's kind of hurt with the narrative of it.
Yeah, and he's really improved his 3-point percentage as of recent as well, shooting 36% on the season. And he's I think he's one of the people that he makes so many circus shots. He's the degree of difficulty of his shots are always insane. A guy who's fully deserving of an MVP award. And I'm sure he'll get a few. He'll notch a few in his career. Josh, do you have any other shouts for the MVP award?
I mean, like before
Mitchell.
yeah. I was gonna say before his injury, you could talk about Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
You know, he's not getting love. But theirs is kind of difficult because there's kind of it's kind of a debate who is the more impactful player for that team, because obviously he does the things that flash, you know, the scoring. He's their best offensive player, but obviously a lot of their success is down to their defense, bolstered by Rudy Gobert. So yeah, there's a lot of players playing at a high level. There's a lot of players,
Sure.
you know, and this season's just weird with the injuries, with how many high level players are injured, have been injured for a lot of time. You know, I had one of my bold predictions was Harden winning MVP, but now we've had, you know, him be out indefinitely now. You know, Kate.
Will he be back before the playoffs? James Harden.
Steve Nash said that he might not be. He said, "Who knows?" So that doesn't look promising. So yeah, it's kind of been a revolving door there with the Nets. They've played like 6 games together as a big three.
Yeah.
But they've still managed. I don't know. Maybe, maybe you have to give. You got to find the one player that's played all their games. Give him MVP, because they're still managed to be first right now on a
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, give Tyler Johnson the MVP. Give Landry Shamet MVP.
Yeah.
But there's not really anyone. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the Portland Trailblazers, who have had a real rough time with it as of recent. 3-7 in their last 10. I'm sure that streak extends even worse.
5-10 in April.
5-10 in April for a team that you know, wanted to get into those top 4, top 5 seedings, and have all their players back healthy now. It's not what we expected, Josh. We kind of expected them to kick on when they got Nurkic and McCollum back. But it's no surprise that this struggling form has come with struggles from their superstar, Damian Lillard.
Yeah, during that stretch of 5-10 in April, he's averaged 22 points per game, shooting 38% from the field and 35 from 3. That's
He looks like a man that's had to carry his team for the whole season, and it's finally catching up to him, I think.
Yeah, it's not looking great. Obviously, they've had injury issues, as you just mentioned. I mean, Zach Collins, when is the last time he played? He just got ruled out for the season. I mean, I don't even remember. I can't think of a time he's played since pretty much like when he played against us in the playoffs. But and obviously CJ McCollum missed time. Nurkic always seems to miss time. Carmelo Anthony did quite a good job in trying to help them during that tough period. But Damian Lillard has fallen off a bit, and now you're starting to get rare rumblings about him possibly leaving. His language has kind of changed a little bit in being a bit more open to leaving, and that you know, that's got to be terrible to hear as a Blazers fan, because so this team are, you know, they're the second worst defensive team in the league, behind just the Timberwolves, and you know, their outlook doesn't look great. You know, there's not much room to improve this team apart from through trade. They are minus, you know, 21 million in cap space. So there's no free agents coming to save them. There's no obvious trade to make. They tried to make the Powell trade, and that hasn't really done much for them.
What about the coach?
Yeah,
Terry Stotts been there a long time and nothing's changed.
You know, going into it's interesting going into that Thunder Blazers series. Those two teams were kind of in the same position there. The Blazers were coming off that embarrassing upset against the New Orleans Pelicans, and we were coming off, you know, losing to the Jazz, and there's two teams kind of in a collision course that was like, whoever loses is gonna have to make big changes, and it ended up being us, and you know, we've made a crazy rebuild and things like that. But you know, there was people wondering, would Terry Stotts survive another loss this early? And maybe Blazers fans might trade, or maybe not that sure, but you know, Dame and CJ have kind of saved his coaching job for a while now.
Yeah,
it doesn't look. It's not great. He's not a good coach.
You have to think, right? If if Damian Lillard wasn't the clutch performer he is and wasn't the big shot maker he is, would Terry Stotts still be in a job? And it's no. Like, it's as simple as that. It's no. Because Damian Lillard, like, think about the past 3 or 4 seasons. How many games has Damian Lillard won for the Portland Trailblazers in the fourth quarter? It must be upward of 20, 30 games. If they lose those games in playoff situations, in late season situations where they're fighting for seeding, maybe they don't even make the playoffs some of those years. And, obviously that's not acceptable when you have 2 stars the caliber of CJ and Damian Lillard.
Look back, you can see, especially last season where they kind of had to win every game. They had to win quite a lot of their games to get into the playoffs.
They scraped in, didn't they? They scraped in.
Yeah. So the outlook of that team, of that franchise, does not look great.
Yeah, I feel like every season goes the same for the Trailblazers. It's like almost they'll apart from that one season, I think they finished second they got to the conference finals one year. But apart from that, it's like look to finish 4th or 5th and then kind of fall more towards that 7-8 and then either exit in the first round or you get a Damian Lillard moment of magic that takes you to the second round, but you don't get past the second round. And the one constant in that is Terry Stotts.
I need some Dame magic to get me out first round right now.
You're struggling, bro.
He's been trash for me, and I've got a few of my players who just decided not to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
It's not looking great.
It's not looking great for your fantasy, man.
Rebuild. I mean, I'm going into a rebuild. I think.
Last year's champion falling at the first hurdle.
I mean,
I didn't even make it to the first hurdle, so
the bubble championship.
Yeah. Manus Mouse,
really.
Yeah.
I mean, Manus was on the ropes a little bit until Allen had like 3 consecutive days of leaving players on the bench. But
Josh, we can now sit back, open up our notepad, start taking our notes for the draft, man.
I want to do this, man. I hate it. I was the favorite, man. I had such a good team. And then literally everyone just sat for the whole first week of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And they're taking a piss. They're like, Kawhi and Sabonis and Mitchell might play on Sunday. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, when it's too late, like when you're done, it's like, I've already got one foot out the door. Like, well, it's like me. Like LeBron is supposed to be back, I think next week. I'm not gonna be there. Like, But anyway, enough fantasy talk. Do the Blazers need to blow up? I would say leave your comments, but realistically, we haven't had a comment in like 6 months.
We had a comment last week.
Swear. Fuck. It must be me, bro. What am I doing wrong?
And 2 new subscribers as well.
Yeah, fuck.
Hey, man, that's great. Hey. But leave a comment if you see this in like 2022. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think Dame time is over.
Okay. I don't want this to go too long, but what briefly, what do you think they need to do to blow up? Is it the coach or is it the players?
I say just move to Seattle. Nah.
You know what's bad? You know what I clocked, right? If the Supersonics get their franchise back, you can't claim anymore that you have rings.
Nah, it would be a new franchise because look at the Hornets. The Hornets, they were in Charlotte originally. Then they moved to New Orleans, and then they changed their names to Pelicans. And then, what's it called? MJ he changed the Bobcats back to the Hornets.
I don't know. I think I did hear something on like a podcast that is what would happen. Like they get their championships back, but I don't know for sure. But that would be hilarious to me because now I could just you would have no leg to stand on in the OKC versus Chicago Bulls debate.
Then we'd be a franchise that are like how much like 40, 50 years younger. So it's like okay.
Yeah, but I'm not giving you that. Like I'm not giving you that. All right, let's move on to.
We might as well talk about some gladiator championships. We're gonna talk about the Bulls. But we'll combine the last 2 topics because they're kind of one and the same.
Yeah, the Lakers might potentially fall to the 6th seed. And Josh, do you know who they'd be playing if they in the first round if they fell to the 6th seed?
Who would they be playing?
As it stands, the Los Angeles Clippers.
The Battle of LA.
And they're I don't know who's. I think the Mavericks are behind them and they're only one game back. Let me just double check that 1 second. But that would be some first round matchup. The Battle of LA in the first round is a possibility. As it stands, it would be. Who would they be playing? 4-5 matchup. So that would be who is the 4th seed in
the Nuggets.
Nuggets.
I feel so bad for the Nuggets.
I feel bad. That I would hate that for the Nuggets as well.
I feel so bad for Jokic because, 3 weeks ago they were looking like, okay, they are contenders. Like they got Aaron Gordon, so they've made up for the loss of Jeremy Grant. He might even be a better fit than Jeremy Grant was.
Yeah.
And Jokic is as a great. He's having
in his
MVP,
prime right now. Yeah.
MVP season. Jamal Murray is finally back in his bubble form. And, the sky's the limit for this team that are healthy, that are ready to go. And then Jamal Murray goes down.
I'm with it. ACL, man.
And he might be that injury, because of how late in the season it was, that might put them in the same position for the next 2 seasons, like for this season and next season.
Yeah, it might eat into a good chunk of his time for next season as well.
Yeah. And it's just so unfortunate because now you're going to have just the same narratives you get every year. Every year you get an MVP player that deserved MVP, and then the playoffs happen, and then LeBron inevitably ends up towards the end of the season, and then everyone's like, LeBron deserved MVP. He's a real MVP. And Jokic, if he loses to LeBron in the first round,
you can't really say that this season though, because LeBron's been so injured.
I'm not saying LeBron though. I'm not saying LeBron.
Oh, okay, someone else.
They're gonna try. Yeah, they're
Chris
gonna
Paul
try
or someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if the Suns advance past the first round as well, they're probably gonna say Chris Paul.
They'll put Embiid. They'll be like Embiid.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunate.
But are you concerned about the Lakers? Getting their stars back so late in the season. I mean, LeBron is going to be back next week.
Man, he has been trash this year.
Yeah,
I didn't think he deserved All-Star nod anyway. But since he's returned, I mean, you probably know more than anyone having him in your team. But he's having 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, shooting.
To be fair, when you've got Drummond, some of those rebounds are going to be snatched up. But
5,
5 when you're 7 foot is not
16
great.
points per game. He's averaging 39% from the field and 18 from 3.
Okay, I don't want to be too harsh on Anthony Davis. He's been out a long time.
He's been out a while, but I'm just saying in terms of just what is happening for that
on the
team.
season. He hasn't been great, like his usual
on the season
self.
hasn't been great. I don't blame him for obviously the rust being there. Not everyone can be KD and be perfect every time. But just what it is for the Lakers, they're not going to be able to, with him in this form, they're not going to be able to keep up in time to get LeBron back, who I don't think will struggle that much when he comes.
I don't know. I feel like LeBron is so used to having like one of the top 3 seeds and he's so used to having home court advantage. He's quite prone to use that first round, those first couple of games, as like kind of an adaptation period and to kind of feel his body out.
If there is one thing though with those,
he's not going to have that against the Nuggets, is he? He's going to have to go full throttle from the first.
He's never been this low before, but he's not a player that shies away from that. I mean, if you look at those Cleveland years, they were clearly the best team in the East, but they were rarely ever the first seed. Because LeBron doesn't care about seeding as much. But yeah, I think if they can get help, if you can tell me that they're going to be 100% healthy by playoff time, even if they don't get the chance to mesh as much, I still think that the Lakers are the favorite in the West.
Yeah, but tell me this, right? Okay, so your potential it's looking like the potential first round matchups for the Lakers is either going to be the Nuggets or the Clippers, right?
Yeah.
Would you be tempted, as the Lakers, to tank to that 7 seed, right? Win a playoff playing game, also get extra reps for your superstars, and then you face the Suns in the first round, who are very good team, but very inexperienced, and you have that advantage over them.
No, because anything can happen
in a playing game.
In a playing tournament, and you don't want to make that risk.
Yeah.
Because from now on, teams are going to be aiming for a top 6. You know, it used to be the whole you're aiming for that top 8, or you're aiming for a home court advantage. And now with that playing format, which they have, like the NBA, a lot of people in the NBA have confirmed that it will be a recurring thing in seasons to come. You need that stability, because you don't want to be worrying about, especially because AD is back now, but who's to say something doesn't flare up? You know, hamstrings are those lower body injuries are very tricky, as you're seeing with the Nets right now. So you don't need to make that risk, because what if AD has another setback towards the end of the season, and then you're going into a play-in tournament with that situation? Like, nah, you don't want to make that risk. You want to make sure that a team has to beat you 4 times.
But who out of those 3 teams, if you were a Lakers fan, would you be the most comfortable going against in a first round playoff series?
The Nuggets.
Over the Suns? Out of those 3 teams, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I feel like with the Nuggets, you at least have the familiarity. You know what you have to do to beat them, because you beat them last season at full strength.
That's a good point. This Suns team is a bit of an enigma.
You don't know what to expect there.
Yeah. But at the same time, the experience could play in your favor. It's a tough one, but yeah, obviously me saying they should tank to a 7th seed is just a hypothetical. Yeah. I don't think they should do that, but it's just an interesting debate, because if they do get it right, it could actually work in their favor. But obviously they're gonna want to fight for every seeding place they can.
LeBron, when you have LeBron and AD, when you're a reigning defending champion, it's never going to seep into your mind to tank for a lowest to avoid a team. It's never going to happen, because you tempt fate that way. I mean,
it might just happen naturally. Who knows? They haven't been great recently, have they?
Imagine you drop to 7, and then Curry just goes on some crazy explosion.
Yeah, you don't want to come up against Curry in a one.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want
to do that. Yeah, you don't want to tempt fate.
That is a good point. Yeah, like maybe if it was against the Spurs, you'd be like, okay, but because they don't have a player that can go off like Curry. But Curry, I feel like Curry, like out of spite, would just like hit 15 threes. Like
the NBA, they have to be gassed. Like they made this format for Zion. Let's be honest, like last year.
Yeah, and he didn't even play.
They have to be gassed that they have the prospect of Curry in a play-in tournament.
Yeah,
like a March Madness.
And even in the Eastern Conference, you got Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, Westbrook,
even possibly Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo as well. So,
me and Matas, we talked about this last week as a topic, but I love that extra.
Yeah, I love playing tournament as well.
Because let's be honest, most first rounds, you're gassed that the playoffs are starting, but by the second game, you're like, oh, bring on a second round.
Yeah, at this stage of the season, when do we ever talk about anyone outside of the 9th seed? We never talk. We would never be talking about.
Half the league is tanking by this point.
Yeah, we would never be talking about the Warriors or the Spurs or the Pelicans. Well, the Pelicans are kind of out of it. But we would never be talking about a lot of these teams, even the Bulls, who are kind of still in the race. We would never be talking about these teams. But now that race to get into, just have that chance to get into the playoffs, you get that chance to, maybe win it on a buzzer beater or, win it in a 1-game scenario. I think it's really exciting. It's just a little lifeline. Obviously, the playing, especially if you're the 10 seed, it's a little lifeline. You have to win 2 games against good opposition, but it's a lifeline nonetheless. So it keeps their chances alive and it keeps their season alive.
And it's kind of needed in this type of season where there's a lot of the records are kind of invalidated right now because of the injuries, because of the COVID protocol.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has been chance, has been luck. So yeah, you kind of need that. You kind of need that added element to keep teams motivated.
And as the NBA kind of tries to move away from the tanking culture, this is another perfect way to do it. other than the draft lottery odds as well. This is another good way to do it because it gives those teams still a reason to try and win basketball games. So yeah, I think it's a win-win-win-win-win. Obviously, there's those controversies that Luca was saying that you could play a whole season well, and it comes down to one game.
Well, win more games then.
Well, that's what the Mavericks are doing since he said that. To be fair,
Yeah.
the Mavericks are on a roll.
Dame was complaining about it. I'm like,
it seems to be all those people that are kind of hovering around the player.
Dame, you can't complain about it and then shoot 20, shoot 30% from the field.
I mean, the Mavericks currently are out of the playing tournament, so they're actually putting their money where their mouth is. But yeah, it's interesting times to be an NBA fan. Obviously, the regular season is drawing to a close. The playoffs are right around the corner. I cannot wait for the playing games. I honestly cannot wait to just like it's like March Madness style, isn't it? Everything is decided on one game.
And the fact that it's expanded this year.
You could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't turn up for that one game, your season ends right there. So it's going to cause a lot of drama, a lot of debate, and as we always say, we'll be here to cover it every step of the way. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the 4 Point Talk podcast. We're out. Peace.